Serious, what is the worst thing you have seen on the internet? I've watched a lot of the gory side of the web and I've seen some stuff and some things. The thing that messed me up the most actually wasn't that graphic, comparatively, but it was so traumatic. Guy in Cleveland goes on a shooting spree and records the whole thing live. He's apparently upset with his girl and is sending her a message or something. He comes across this little old man, just walking down the street, minding his own business. He gets out of his truck, asks the old man to say something for the camera about the girl, and then pulls out his gun and shoots him right in the face. Ugh. It was heartbreaking. Poor guy had no idea that would be the end of his life. He wasn't bothering anyone. No reason for it except this complete psychopath. I can't watch any of that stuff anymore. I absolutely remember this. Broke my heart. He was live on Facebook and he got caught pulling into a McDonald's drive-thru in the middle of an active manhunt for him. It was a video from the Style Project of a close-up of the head and neck of a Chechen soldier begging for his life. And as he's doing so, the cameraman slits his throat, and what really got to me and haunts me to this day is the sound. How you can hear him trying to talk as his throat is opened. If it's any consolation, I remember reading that a few weeks after that video was taken, that entire cell of fighters was obliterated by Russian special forces. I always thought that I was pretty desensitized to all the wild and crazy crap, but just recently I watched a video of this kid, probably 13-15, kill himself with a shotgun while his friends on Discord are begging him not to do it. And to make things worse, his mom walks in and finds him. Gore videos really don't bother me, but all the audible details and that one really messed me up for the rest of the week. A young immigrant from India in Canadian factory got his feet stuck in that big cable roll, and that roll got out of control, which smashed the guy to the ground like 15 times until somebody got there and pushed emergency stop. The way his body was looking haunts me to this day. I saw that one, and I don't think he's dead, tbh. Probably the Mexican cartel video where they flay a man's face while he's alive, or something similar to that. Seen plenty of messed up things, but that unsettled something within me. That video is known as Funky Town. Really disturbing. There is a similar video called Ghost Rider. Instead of flaying a man's head, they burn it using alcohol. The victim looked like the Ghost Rider while being still alive. I was around when that dude on 4chan murdered his girlfriend, and the posts were still coming in and being reposted on Reddit as soon as they did. It was pretty wild. Didn't feel real. I saw a man cry and beg for his life while being decapitated slowly with a knife when I was 14. After the head was off, they placed football with it. Those sounds and the fear in his eyes was something that stuck with me. I've seen a lot, both viral. I used to be a paramedic, and online, but the worst one I ever saw was the one with a few cartel members killing of a guy whose face they'd skinned completely. They were stabbing and slashing his face and his tongue repeatedly with a box cutter. The Funky Town video, if I recall correctly. Sick crap. They also set his face on fire, if I recall correctly. He was a rival cartel leader, I think. What really shocked me there is their complete indifference to his suffering. Like, what made you like this, if you're not even feeling anything when doing such acts? During a motor race, two pit crew guys ran across the road. The first guy barely made it, but the second guy got hit so hard his body was flung up into the air, spinning so fast he was ripped half. There's a couple recently I've seen that stuck with me for weeks. A man buried to his neck and murdered with a pickaxe. Another one is a woman doing some ice water challenge, jumps in at an angle and gets sucked into the current under the ice, drowns all while her very young baby daughter screams mommy mama in agony. I don't know why I watch this crap, it really fricks with me emotionally. Goddamn internet makes it so easy to explore that horrific curiosity, and I always regret it. I once ended up in a Discord server for people with mental disorders, and it wasn't a support group like I thought. It was mostly narcissists and sociopaths trading ideas on how to manipulate people. I left without ever saying a word. I did that too. Posted for advice on a narcissist who was alienating her kids from their dad, making false claims to the police kind of thing, and all sorts of other sick crap. They were all siding with her. Some people are fricked up big time. They weren't seeking to be better. They were sharing tips in there. A small child, maybe 7, after a gas tanker exploded, burned his whole body. He was still alive and sitting down, shocked, didn't know what to do, occasionally moaning in pain. He didn't even look human. That one bothers me some days. I wish I never read that. The live stream suicide videos. They appeared on Reddit last week as a compilation. Horrific and very sad stuff. Felt sick afterwards. Morbid curiosity turned to regret very quickly. Morbid curiosity is a heck of a thing. Always regret looking at stuff like that. You get desensitized watching things on the screen. Seems like it's not real when it is. The last one I saw was a guy getting hacked to bits by the cartel. Haunting. Seen a lot of dead people over the years, but seeing the emu get its head stuck in the railing then proceeding to pull its own head off on here left me feeling wrong. I just can't picture that. I don't remember what was the name, but after a bombing in Middle East there was a picture of a grandpa and his grandchild found dead hugging. Apparently the poor man tried to protect his granddaughter from the bombings. It still makes me tear up. That's my worst nightmare. I always said in a situation where my daughter and I were in impending doom that I'd want to die first. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I would want her to die in my arms, being comforted by me, as painful as it would be. Death by wood chipper. It was industrial sized. You could see the guy's facial expressions change from pain to hopelessness and shock. His skull didn't go down, so he got decapitated and the head bounced around on top of the tines, shredding the skin off of his skull. I wish you weren't as eloquent describing this. Private Facebook groups promoting and instruction how to administer enemies using industrial strength bleach on children to cure their autism. They believe autism is caused by vaccines administering a parasite or killing our body's natural defense against it, and it lives in the large intestines. By pouring corrosive chemicals into their kid's butt, they kill the parasite causing the autism. They proudly post pictures of the worm that comes out and note their child's improved behavior as they have less frequent outbursts. Doctors point out that the alleged worm looks very similar to intestinal lining that has been burned off, and that the child's lack of outbursts seems similar to that of a child who can't do much because they're in severe pain as their intestinal lining has been burned off. Yet telling parents to stop doing this to their children is censorship, and doctors are trying to cover the truth. Only Nazis tell people to not give their children industrial bleach enemas. The absolute worst part is the parents that crow about how they've noticed their kids showing fewer symptoms of autism. These poor non-verbal children are being conditioned by bleach torture to hide their autism so their mothers will stop hurting them. When I was a kid, my mom called me in the computer room where she proceeded to bombard me with a video of Daniel Pearl getting his head chopped off. I had no idea what I was watching until it was too late. By then, it was etched into my mind. It still haunts me. I can handle gore and blood. I'm a nurse, so it's part of my everyday life. But I can't handle human cruelty like that. It will get me every time. Suicide bomber. Guy trying to talk him out of it. Boom, bomber instantly disappears and the guy that tried to talk him down covered in blood. In shock and very off it all happened. A Facebook video of a woman chopping off a dog's paw. It popped up in my feed and I usually get nice animal videos, so I was absolutely horrified as I realized what was happening. There was no blur sensor and I wish I'd never seen it. This is what I have been trying to unsee for years. I hated that woman to my gut, even if I can't even remember how she looked like. A random guy from a Discord sent real CP in the meme chat while I was active in the chat. Didn't knew it was CP until I played the video. Same but on Messenger. I was wondering why some was laughing until I played the vid. That stopped it after a second, left the chat, and unfriended everyone in it. Still scarred to this day. Saw this on Reddit. I believe the subreddit was gore, so I don't know what I was expecting. Saw a naked man on the ground getting eaten alive by a dog. The guy was handcuffed and wriggling away from the dog and I literally saw the dog bite the flesh off. A traumatic experience, but no one to blame but me. Truly terrifies me of what else the internet holds. Like imagine the darknet. I saw a bunch of South American loggers standing around on top of their big equipment looking down as one of their crew members is unconscious on the ground being torn to pieces by a wild hog. We have wild hogs where I live also. A kid crying against his dead father's chest after a bomb. The father's eyes were open. I don't look for videos like that. It just popped up. Kids don't belong on the internet. A post on here on Reddit 50/50 of a guy getting his arm stuck in a metal lathe. He then tried to turn it off or something, and while doing so he sucks his whole body in and gets chopped to pieces. I once read a Clive Barker short story which involved a farm worker getting shredded to pieces in a pig feed grinder. It wasn't even a video and it still stuck in my brain for years. I think it was the photo of the woman who was locked in her room chained to her bed for 25 years being fed by her family but staying in a dark room with crap all over the bed. The reason? She had tried to marry someone her parents didn't approve of. A dude in a group chat sent pictures of a guy ripped apart by industrial lathe, along with laughing images. Luckily I only looked at the first of the whole series before deleting them all. Sick psychopath. I work with lathes. All other people in the chat group do too. We don't want to see this and definitely don't think it's funny. I'm a union millwright and guys were spreading that video around to the song You Spin Me Right Round and laughing. I scolded every one of them and told them I hope to God that if that happened to them their moms didn't have to live with the fact that people are spreading the video and laughing about it. Chinese P websites. P is illegal here so it's already sketchy. Sometimes get taken over by people trying to sell CP by advertising it openly, so you click on a hot 26-year-old webcaming and instead it'll show you the worst thing you can imagine and you stop tugging it and start worrying about your door being kicked in. It happened to maybe 3 times in 3 months, then I stopped even trying. Saw a powerlifter prolapse in the middle of a squat. His clothes did not contain it. This was back around 2003. Think it was rotten.com. When I was younger I used to have extreme anxiety and depression, and I was so disappointed when I froze up during a crisis or never stood up for my friends. I started watching gore and horrible accidents so that way I would be prepared for anything, and it actually worked for a while. That was until I saw the Ronnie McNutt video. Mind you, I have seen way worse things online when you compare gore wise, but something about how human it was got to me. I have heard that ringing on my phone. He looks like someone I would know, and I have thought of doing what he did in the past. It is so easy to distance yourself from car crashes or beheadings because you can separate yourself a lot easier from it, but this was a lot harder for me. I was sick for a few days after and it was hard to look at people's heads and not see it burst open with blood dripping down. That video also helped end almost any trace of suicidal thoughts for me. I won't get to see the people who hurt me be sorry for what they did, and the people I do care about will be hurt when I leave them behind. Sorry for the long post, but that is my answer. Take care of yourselves. I'm actually really sorry you saw that. My sister accidentally viewed it because people thought it was funny to just post it all over TikTok so you could easily accidentally stumble upon it. My sister was fricked up for a while. I read an article where a bunch of market traders beat an orangutan to death for taking fruit to feed her baby. Even now, the image of that poor mother lying face down in the dirt brings a tear to my eye. Humans really are the worst. I wish I hadn't read this. I feel sick. I've seen beheadings and executions and all sorts of fricked up nasty crap, but the one that still stays with me is this. I don't remember how young I was, maybe somewhere between 12-16. There was this dude fishing for sharks or pretending to fish for sharks, and he opened up the bait box and there was a bunch of kittens in it. He grabbed one and hooked this poor kitten with a massive hook. For sharks, I assumed. He then throws the kitten into the water and it tries to swim back on board the boat crying desperately. I didn't finish the video because I was about to vomit. It pains me just to write this out as I've tried to block that memory. Humans are fricked. That's sickening. Probably Chase Hospital, a YouTube channel that makes manifestation videos about wanting to get terminal and chronic illnesses like leukemia, severe COVID, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, cystic fibrosis, and cardiac arrest, and many more. The description usually gives phrases to help manifest their symptoms in a ED mindset. The comments mortify me. People wanting to have sickness and be admitted to the hospital so their crush comes to see them or to get attention mortifies me as a disabled person myself. A FB friend of mine linked me to one of the leukemia videos after I was diagnosed. Have a watch of these. They will make you feel better. Yeah, absolutely not. Being diagnosed sat alone after being awake 24 hours was bad enough. I've never really accepted my diagnosis, but I deal with it my own way. So for context, I've worked in pathology and forensic pathology for years. Quite frankly, I'm pretty desensitized to gore and human misery in general. For reasons I can't recall, I accidentally saw the video and image of those 2 Scandinavian girls that were beheaded in Morocco by terrorists a few years back. For reasons I can't fully digest, I found the whole thing very disturbing and deeply regret seeing it. Same here. The one girl calling for her mom is just heartbreaking. I've seen so many accidents working construction. A crew of Korean workers were killed in BC when the wind blew roofing off the structure and wiped them out. For the next 3 days we had to retrieve bodies. Hello, this is a well-being checkpoint. Why not head over to RI Bleach or RAWW if this is all getting a bit much. Also see, are humans being bruised to offset the cartel badness? Also try our illegal small cats for all your small cat needs. I'm glad my comment helped people. Thank you for letting me know and for the awards. I appreciate you. I was on mushrooms and the one sober person there decided it would be a good idea to show everyone something called ffucked.com. It was the worst experience of my entire life. I never had a bad trip in my life before until that day. It was horrible. Watched cartel members cut off 2 guys' heads with a chainsaw. What disturbed me the most is them getting the guy's hide before it and the one guy pushing his neck against the saw to get it over with faster. I could think of a few. Footage of mother falling into an exposed escalator. The heartbreaking thing was she managed to get her child to safety all the while she was being sucked into the escalator. CCTV footage on a guy getting stuck onto the door of a malfunctioning runaway elevator and onto the ceiling if I recall correctly. Said guy spent the time throughout the rest of the footage struggling and struggling and struggling, and the footage just ended. Multiple videos of dead bodies from an aircraft crash, more specifically MH17. In one of them, a woman was tending to one of the bodies while crying. Saw a video of a guy that blew his head off with a shotgun but missed his brainstem and stayed alive for a few minutes after the fact. There isn't enough eye bleach on the planet to forget that. Degloving. For you that don't know what it is, spare you the Google. It's when your skin comes off and more than it comes off, such as meat and tendons. I saw pictures of that in an EMT textbook. One picture was a guy's dong. I am pretty good at avoiding haunting things online. I could mention the brick video, but it shows nothing, though you hear everything. But one time I saw a video of a politician who was getting accused of something. I literally could not tell you what. The description of what he was accused of doesn't make sense to me. He was at a conference or something. They were probably trying to talk to him about the stuff he was accused of, and then he pulled out an envelope which held a gun in it. He pulled out the gun and shot himself on live TV. The video was on YouTube. If I recall correctly, it looked like a waterfall. I wish I didn't remember that it did. Bud Dwyer's live suicide. I remember hearing about this when I used to watch the Rooster Teeth podcast years ago. In the year 2020 during quarantine, I read about this Japanese girl Junko Furuta's case in detail on an Instagram post. It was so traumatizing. I couldn't sleep for like 3-4 days. It's one of the worst cases I have read. I'm still mad though son of a bee didn't get a stronger punishment. Was on Omegle and naturally saw a lot of dudes flashing. To be expected. So I got really good at skipping past nudity. Except for one time I saw dong and press skip. But then it dawned on me, what else was visible in the cam that I just skipped past? Even if just for a second. I realized that I'd inadvertently just witnessed child abuse. I will never be able to get that image out of my head. In the early stages of high-speed internet, when it just came out, we were moving away from dial-up and whichever friend had the fastest we would go to their house and just play on the computer all day. We were young and found these websites. Naturally stuff we weren't supposed to see. I have a memory of seeing a self-mutilation video. I think it was the Pain Olympics. Men going as far and cutting their genitals off. There's another memory of a video where someone is blowing up an airboat manually and a kid jumps on it and the guy's head explodes. Could have been a fake. The one that messes me up is a guy in an police interrogation. They didn't frisk him thoroughly. They leave the room for a brief moment and he shoots himself in the head. You can see him slump and his eyes and mouth start bleeding. I can't ever shake that video. That one is burned in my memory for sure. saw video of some Central Asian looking scene of a guy clubbing some dog-sized mammal into unconsciousness, then skinning it alive as though he did it every day. Then, the poor thing came through and was clearly terrified and confused for the no doubt excruciating pain it was in for the rest of its indeterminable, but hopefully short, life. Mexican gangs killing people was bad until I saw ISIS doing worse things, except they actually professionally directed the mass murders in 4K video quality. I won't go into details, but they are more creative than anyone should like them to be. But the video where they strapped a metal pan to someone's chest was the worst. There was also a hungry rat inside. The video was a time lapse over several hours until the rat panicked and started to eat through the chest of the person. The person had his hands strapped behind him and was bound by his feet as well. Sat down on a chair. Yes, the pan had air holes in it. Yes, the pan had a hole on the lower end for the blood to escape so that the rat wouldn't drown. Yes, the rat escaped. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.